The inflation data received so far for October and November show a welcome reduction in the monthly pace of price increases. But it will take substantially more evidence to give confidence that inflation is on a sustained downward path.
Hello, I'm Christopher Crystal, and this is Thursday, December 22nd, 2022, Financial Stockholm. And this is what we're seeing in the news and what's being discussed in Sweden, and what you can do with it for the market, perhaps. So the Swedish press right now is focused more on external rather than internal. A lot of the articles talk about Zelensky going to the United States, asking for an additional $45 billion from the United States, and continuing on with the war effort. So you have the U.S. contributing, you have the EU contributing, and that's 19.2. The U.S. has put in over 100 billion. So you have 100 billion from the U.S., you have 19.2 from the EU, and the financing of the war for the Ukrainians against the Russians looks to continue. And what this really looks like very clearly is a 20-year effort that will continue for some period of time. You do have comments from Sergej Sjojgu, who has commented, and it looks like there'll be an escalation of Russian military forces. They even look at Scandinavia and what's happening here. So we would have, if we're part of NATO, we would have nuclear missiles. They're going to aim nuclear missiles at us. So this is really a situation that will be a long-term and something that has been committed to by our governments to have continue. So I think from that perspective, the best way to look at it is when you looked at the EU and the US support. On the US side, you have a lot of munitions. So you have companies like Raytheon, you have companies like Northrop Grumman. There are many others, of course. These are developing the munitions that are being used by the Ukrainians in the battlefield. And these are the companies that are going to have a steady flow of orders and have a steady flow of earnings. So that's one area that you could look at. And, so that includes drones, that includes rifles, that includes tanks, that includes artillery. These areas will continue to get order flows, even in bad economies. And then if you look on the European side, what the Europeans have been doing, of course, they've been committing munitions as well. So you can look at the European manufacturers like BAE and so forth. But what you can also look at are the hospital supplies. You can look at the light bulbs, energy-saving light bulbs like Philips is providing. And you can look at the power generators, the individual home power generators, or for factory generation. These are areas that are being supplied by the European Union and areas of quote-unquote commitment. So that would be one of the areas to look at. Then what we also see in Sweden is that the finance minister, Elisabeth Svantesson, has come out and given a very depressing report right before Christmas to say how bad the Swedish economy is and how bad it will be for the coming years. And this looks like an issue that will continue at least until 2024. And in her comments, she even gave up till 2025. So she cites the Competition Institute. So that's really kind of our economic barometer to say how the economy is developing. And they came out with a report yesterday. We discussed that, and they look to see a slowdown in 2023. And then continuing where we might see an upturn in 2024. And these are a gradual upturn of 0.8 in GDP growth versus next year's expected contraction of 0.6 for minus, right? So, you're getting a very bad view for the Swedish economy, and you're also getting a very bad view on the jobless rate. So this may mean that you may see more people joining the military in Sweden, which has been something where we had been dropping off. And this would fit in line with a European expeditionary force, which is supposed to be 5,000 people. But no idea what we'll have there. But I think in terms of the investments that you could make, obviously we need to invest in our energy grid. So again, the windmills are going to get a lot of investments. Solar panels will continue to get investments. Nuclear should receive investments, and it would be great if Sweden started building up power, because then we could be a net power seller. And if we are going to go into war, we would need to be able to have power generation and in different regions of the country. So that would be something. Another area that would be interesting to look at would be the used car sales. Sweden is planning to phase out diesel and gasoline car sales by 2035, and I think by 2030 you have some targets there as well. And so where would you be using diesel and gasoline powered cars? Well, of course, in a war zone, because if you have power disruptions and you don't have 8 hours where you can sit a car and charge it, and you don't have an available power grid, well, then you can use diesel and gasoline. So used cars may also become a interesting commodity to trade, and especially to trade into the Ukraine. Europe has around, I think it's only 200 million actual vehicles. It's certainly less than the United States, but you have a population of 300 million. So the used car vehicles would be another interesting area. Hospital supplies, of course, power generators, and light bulbs, things of that sort, canned foods. These would be all areas that you would want to look at for investment and possible return. So remember, you can always make money in the market, whether you're short or whether you're long, you're short term or you're long term. And hopefully you'll subscribe and hit the thumbs up for us here at Financial Stockholm. And we'll talk to you again before Christmas. And thank you very much.